In this video, I'm going to show you how you can save your first $10,000 even if you've never had anything close to $10,000 in your bank account with a step-by-step plan on how you can do it. Now, does this mean it's going to be easy? No. Does this mean it's going to happen tomorrow? No. All the things that I'm going to talk about will require work, it will require time, and it's going to take effort and sacrifice on your part. If you're not willing to put in the work, well, you might as well just leave this video right now. But if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to put in the effort and the sacrifice, I'm going to walk you through 7 things that you need to do in this order. That way you can save your first $10,000. So let's start by talking about number 1. You have to stop spending money on things that you don't need. We live in a society where it's very easy to have what I call net zero thinking. Net zero thinking is I got to zero out my bank account. If I have $1,000 in my bank account, I should go out and spend $1,000. If I have $2,000 in my bank account, I can go out and afford a $2,000 vacation. But that's not how it works if you really want to become wealthy. And one step that you can start doing to help you break away from this net zero thinking, that way you can actually have some extra cash in your bank account, is to separate and understand the difference between your needs and your wants. Because many times we're going to try to justify our wants as needs, so we spend money on things that we don't actually need. Like, my wife hates when I say this, but she might say something like, I need a new cell phone. That's when I always respond with, do you need a new cell phone or do you want a new cell phone? I need a new jacket. Do you need a new jacket or do you want a new jacket? And this is where now you got to start differentiating the needs from your wants. And you also want to make sure that you're making enough money. That way you can buy your spouse all the things that they want, not just the things that they need. But that's a topic for a different video. This might require you to change the definition of what a need is. Because the first time I started making $100,000 a year, I was in school. And at that point, I realized that I did not really want anything. I needed to invest in myself. I needed to invest in my business, and I needed to accumulate my assets, and I wanted to buy as little liabilities as possible. So I had shoes that had holes in them, and I taped up my shoes. I literally took masking tape and I wrapped up both of my shoes, and that's how I walked to school, even though I was making a lot of money as a kid going to school. Did I need new shoes? Well, most people would say yeah. But in my mind, I just wanted new shoes. So I was walking to class with my taped up shoes, making more money than everybody else around me because I changed my definition of what I needed. You have to find the right balance for you, because when you make that decision of what's most important to you, you're going to do whatever it takes to achieve that thing. If you really want that Gucci handbag, you're going to do whatever it takes, even if that means going into debt to getting the handbag. If you really want to build wealth, if you really want to save up some cash, you're going to make whatever sacrifices you need to save that cash. And you just got to make that decision of what's the most important thing for you right now. If it is saving that money, then you're going to stop eating out. You're going to stop spending money. You're going to live smaller. You're going to stop spending so much money on food out, and you're going to live off of rice and beans until you can save the $10,000, because you know that every dollar you spend is pushing you one step away from your goal. Now, obviously, you don't want to live this extreme poor poverty lifestyle forever, but you got to be willing to make these sacrifices. That way you can accelerate your path to whatever that financial goal is. And this is where you got to find the right balance for you. Maybe it's $10,000, then you start easing up on the gas pedal. Maybe it's 100 grand, maybe it's $1 million. But this is where you got to start figuring out what's most important to you right now, and how much are you willing to sacrifice to get there. And the first thing, which is the simplest thing, not the easiest thing, but the simplest thing that you can do, is just stop having money leave your account. You're already working so hard to get the money. Now, what do you want to do with the money? That way you can actually get to your goals. If your goal is to save that money, then stop spending the money. Second, once you stop the money leaving your account, now you want to put more money in your account. And before you go out and get a second job, what you can start doing is just by selling some of the stuff that you have around you. Do you have old clothes that you can go and sell? Do you have furniture that you don't need? Do you really need a sofa right now that you're financing? If not, go out and sell it. When I was in my early and mid 20s and I was going to law school, and I will admit that this is much easier to do when you're in your 20s and you're not married and you don't have kids, but when I was in my 20s, early 20s, mid 20s and law school, I didn't buy any furniture. I had a mattress that I kept in the hallway because I didn't have a bedroom to sleep in, and I would drag my mattress down into the hallway, put it down in the hallway, and go to sleep at night, and in the mornings pick up the mattress and put it back out there. Again, this goes back to that level of sacrifice. Maybe you don't need that coffee table, maybe you don't need that TV. Sell the stuff that you don't need. And if you have stuff that's just collecting dust, sell that too. because right now you got to get rid of the things that are just sitting there not doing anything, turn those things into cash. And if you have furniture and electronics that you have financed around you, whether it's laptops, cell phones, sofas, all that stuff, if you have financed any of that or kitchenware, I need you to sell that, turn it into cash, pay off the debt, and buy something cheap. That way now you don't have money constantly leaving your account for something that is just losing you money. A fridge, a sofa, a TV, all these things are liabilities. And if you have debt on any one of these things, I need you to sell those things ASAP, turn those things into cash, pay off the debt, and buy something that's cheap. Buy a cheap fridge that's working, buy a cheap sofa that lets you sit there, buy a cheaper TV, or just don't buy a TV. That way now you have some actual cash in your hands and you don't have to keep paying money for all the stuff that looks nice. And now if you're saying, but Jaspreet, what are people gonna say when they come over and they don't see my stainless steel fridge anymore and they see an ugly white fridge? Well, the ugly white fridge is gonna keep your rice and beans just as cool as the stainless steel fridge. So suck it up for a little while until you can save that cash and afford the things that you really want. Because if you keep living your life based off of what other people will think, well, you're going to have a very tough time becoming wealthy. And as soon as you can break out of that mindset of stop worrying about what the majority of people think and you start worrying about what's in your bank account, well, you're going to live a much freer life mentally and also financially, because now you're not going to have that emotional stress of constantly trying to impress other people. And as soon as you can break out of that, which I know is easier said than done, but as soon as you can break out of this idea of trying to live for other people, trying to impress other people, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to live your life and not worry about what other people think. And if you want some practice on how to do that, well, next time you go out to dinner, don't put it on social media. Don't post your life on social media, because many times, not everybody, but many times, we use social media as a way to satisfy and impress other people. And even if you say, but Jaspreet, I don't do that, I just like posting it. Well, what would happen if nobody saw the post that you posted? What would happen if nobody likes the post that you posted? Would that affect you? If so, give yourself a 7-day break. It's not that long. Just give yourself a little 7-day break where now when you do something cool, you don't put it on social media. You can take a picture for yourself, but don't put it on social media. That way now you can start understanding this idea of living for yourself and not doing it for other people. And even if you don't know if you're doing it for other people, try it anyways. That way now you know that you're doing this just for yourself. And if you can conquer that, you will be able to get rid of that stainless steel fridge and put in an ugly white fridge, because this will keep your food just as cold, but it will save you a whole lot more green. Third, I want you to inspect your finances. I'm from Michigan, and in Michigan, after winter ends and spring begins, you have a ton of potholes on the road, and what happens when you have all these potholes is your tires pop. I have busted a ton of tires in the last number of years, and when you pop a tire, sometimes you gotta stop driving on the tire, pull over, and take a look at the pop tire to see if your tire's actually popped, or to see how bad the pop is. That way you can actually take care of the tire. If you don't stop and inspect it, you're just gonna keep making it worse and worse and worse. Now you gotta do the same thing here with your finances, where you gotta stop and inspect your finances. We already talked about stopping the financial bleeding. We already talked about not selling some of the stuff, but let's look at the already bills that you have and inspect some of those. The first part to this is I need you to write down on a piece of paper or use a Google sheet or Excel sheet, but I need you to write down on the top how much money you made and your different sources of income, if you have different sources of income. That way you know exactly how much money you made. And then below that, I want you to write your expenses. How much money did you spend everywhere? Line by line by line. I want you to look at your credit card statement, look at your debit card statement, look at your bank account, and look at every single place where you spent money in the last 30 days or in the last month. And now what you're going to do is you have your income from the last month and you have your expenses from the last month. And now you need to see every single place where your money went. You have to account for every penny, because if you don't know where money is going, you're not going to be able to optimize it. So now once you write down where all your money is going, you will then also write your investments, and you're going to write your charity, and you're going to write how much money you put towards your savings. As soon as you look at this, there's a couple things that's going to happen. One, you're going to realize that you're way overspending on some places as opposed to others. Second, you're going to find some bills that you didn't even realize that you still had because you forgot to cancel your subscription. Now you're going to call up those companies and start canceling your subscriptions. Then after you've gotten rid of all the bad subscriptions that you don't have anymore, the next thing that I want you to do is I want you to look at the bills that you're paying and see which ones you can cut your expenses on. Because I can pretty much guarantee you that 90% of people have at least one bill that they can lower their expenses on. Whether it's your internet bill, your cable bill, your phone bill, some other utility bill, there's a lot of bills or companies and providers out there that will be willing to negotiate your bill lower if you just ask. And now there's apps that do this for you as well. Earlier today, before I recorded this video, I came across an app called Bill Shark. They're not paying me to say this. I just found this app. I've never used them before, so I can't vouch whether they're good or not. But what they do is they literally work to lower your bills for you. And if they do lower your bills, then they're just going to take a percentage of how much they lowered your bill. So something that you may want to check out, it's billshark.com. Fourth, if you don't like me now, you're really not going to like me after this, but that's okay because I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to help you be better with your money. But this is where now you need to start downsizing. And there's two main places where you can downsize. Downsize on where you live and downsize on what you drive. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money away from your pocket. An asset is something like an investment, a stock market investment, a real estate investment, not a home that you are living in, but a home that you're renting out to somebody else. This could potentially be cryptocurrency. An asset could be your business. It could be a business that you buy or business that you run. Assets are things that you're buying for the sole purpose of making money. Liabilities are all the nice stuff that we have, that we use. These are things that make us look rich. Liabilities are our clothes, our vacations are liabilities, eating out is liabilities, and our home is also a liability. Now this is a big argument, but the reality that you need to understand is every dollar that you're putting towards your home, your upgrades, is a dollar that you can't actually invest. And this is where people say, but my home, if I own my home, it's an investment, right? Because I'll be able to sell the home for a profit one day. But the question is, that's a big maybe. You're not buying your home that you live in for the purposes of making money. You bought the home that you live in for the purposes of creating memories, for the purposes of having an experience. Can you sell it for a profit? Maybe. Will you sell for a profit? I don't know. And this is where you have to understand it's a completely different mindset of that versus buying a home for the purposes of renting it out and making money. When you buy a home, an investment property, with the purposes of making money, you're going to make a lot more money than when you buy a home just to live there and make memories. Can you make a profit? Sure. But it's also not guaranteed, because now you have to go through this 30 years, your 30-year mortgage. You keep paying money every single year. You keep paying for property taxes. You keep paying for insurance. You keep paying for your upgrades. You keep paying for your maintenance. And then one day, you're hoping that you can sell it for a profit. As opposed to, I bought a property, I'm renting it out, my tenant is paying for all my expenses, it's putting some profit in my pocket every single month, and then when it comes time for me to sell it, well, whether or not I sell it for a profit, I still have some cash in my pocket because I made money the whole time that I owned the property. I'm a licensed realtor and I used to work as a realtor and I used to help people buy and sell homes. And when you try to sell somebody a home, it is the best interest of the realtor to sell a bigger home because then the realtor is going to make a bigger commission check. Now, does this mean that all realtors are bad and greedy and all that? No, this is just how the game works. Realtors are paid on commission. And same with leasing. You get a bigger commission check when you lease a bigger unit. Now again, not all realtors are bad. Some realtors are going to help you find something that you can actually afford, but this is where you have to understand that you want to make sure that you can afford where you're living. If you're overpaying on your lease, if you're overpaying on your mortgage, and you can't afford to invest your money, you can't afford to put money aside, then you really need to think about downsizing. Because if you can downsize and save yourself $100 a month or $400 a month or potentially even $1,000 a month, depending on how much you're paying right now, well, that's an additional $1,000 a month that you can put towards your savings, your investments, your future, and that is going to require a sacrifice on your part because, yeah, now you're going to have to move into a smaller home and everybody's going to think that you lost your mind or that something really bad is happening, but what's actually happening is you're moving one step closer to becoming wealthy. So while it looks like you're becoming poorer, you're actually becoming richer. And that's one of the weird things about becoming wealthy is that most people who try to just look rich are actually broke, but the people who are trying to actually become rich look broke. The second thing that you can downsize on is your car, especially if you're financing your car because you can't afford to buy it outright. Now there are some exceptions to financing if it is a tax break for you. But for most people, if you're financing your car because you can't afford the whole payment, or if you're leasing your car because you can't afford to buy the whole car, this car is costing you a lot of future wealth. Because now if you're paying an extra $500 a month to finance, own, and pay for this car, well, this $500 a month could be invested. And if you invested this $500 a month and you could get, say, a average 10% return on your money, well, over 6 years, which might be how long you own the car, this $500 a month could grow to $50,000, $1,000 worth of cash in your account. But when you own a car where you're paying $500 a month, after 6 years, this car is going to be, well, not worth $50,000. It's going to be worth $10,000, if that. But if you can keep going and you don't have a car payment for 30 years, well, now this $500 a month will be worth $1 million. Your car in 30 years is going to be worth zero, nothing. Now you might be saying, but Jaspreet, I still need a car. What do you want me to do? Well, I want you to now go out and sell this car, take whatever cash you can, and go out and buy a used, beat up, but good working condition car with cash. That way you don't have to worry about the payments anymore. And you can get a good working condition car for under $10,000. And yeah, this is gonna make it harder for you to get to your $10,000 goal initially, but now this additional $500 a month that you don't have to pay towards a car is gonna help you blow past that $10,000 goal in the near future. So now you stop buying things that you don't need, you sold some of your stuff, you renegotiated your bills, you downsized. I told you this was not gonna be easy, but this also brings me to number 5, which is now you work more. This is where things start to become fun, because now we're working on how do you earn more money. And if you're stuck in a job and you're saying, how am I supposed to work more? I'm already putting in all these hours at my job. Well, this is where now you can work more, not just at your job, but work more here. That way you can earn more money, not just at your job. So now you're working more, that way you can work more effectively, work smarter, like what people like to say. That way now you can actually earn more money and scale your income, because now the whole thing is you've been working to make these sacrifices. You've been working to stop spending money. You've been working to accumulate some extra cash. Now let's make your efforts even more scalable, where now you're working smarter to earn more money. That way now you can accumulate the cash that you want, you can invest your money quicker, and you can live a better life because now you know how to earn more money. Now the question is, where do you earn this money? Now for some of you, if you hate the idea of trying to start something on your own, you hate the idea of not doing something that's very secure like a job, then maybe you just try to work more hours at your job. You get a promotion or raise, maybe you get a certification, that way you can get a different job. If that's you, then that's fine. You gotta know yourself. But if you are willing to take on more risks, that way you can earn more money, well then this is where you wanna start watching more YouTube videos on how do you earn more money. Watch more YouTube videos about how do you start a side business. Watch more YouTube videos about how do you start a business. Watch more YouTube videos about how you can earn money online. And this is where now you can start learning about internet marketing, you can start learning about digital marketing, you can start learning about selling things online, you can start learning about e-commerce, and then you can find something that's right for you, and now you can start putting in work, that way you can earn more money. This is not going to be easy. This is something that you're going to be working on for years before you really start to see the success that a lot of people talk about. Because seeing success online, making your first dollar online, or making your first dollar in general from something that you create is very difficult. It takes time, it takes effort. But once you make your first dollar, that means you can make 100. If you can make $100, that means you can make 1,000. If you can make $1,000, that means you can make 10,000. And if you can make $10,000, you can definitely make $100,000. But it starts by making that first dollar, and that first dollar is going to require a whole lot of work for you learning the process, building things, trying things, failing. But if you are willing to put in that work, well, now you can start earning more money. And if you stick with the smart financial planning that you've built, this doesn't require you to live like a peasant forever. But if you are smart with the money that you start earning, well, now you're going to have more money to fuel your investments, to fuel your savings, and even live a little bit better. Now, if you already are an entrepreneur and you have a business and you want to see how you can be better in your business, well, I created a free resource called Business Briefs, which is a free daily business newsletter that covers things that you need to know as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, and as the founder. This covers things like innovation and entrepreneurship and business trends, what's going on in the funding world, and what's going on in the business economy. That way now you can focus on running your business, and we can help keep you informed, and it's completely free. So if you haven't joined Business Briefs yet, I got the link to how you can join Business Briefs down in the description below. 6, if you have a lot of outstanding debt, this is where now you can start considering doing some sort of debt restructuring. Because if you have a ton of different types of credit card debt out there, and now you're finally starting to get your finances in order, well, one of the things that you can consider doing is moving some of these different credit card balances to a 0% APR card. That way now you get maybe 12 months or 18 months where now you don't got to pay any interest, but you can aggressively pay down these credit cards, because that credit card debt, these credit card payments can really skin you alive with all the interest, but they can also hold you back from building any any sort of financial wealth. Now, before you go out and make any drastic decisions on your credit card debt and do a debt restructuring, talk to an expert, whether it's a legal expert, an attorney, or some sort of financial expert, a debt expert, because there's a lot of legalities that are involved, and you want to make sure that you understand all the risks of moving this debt around and understand all the possibilities out there, because there's so many different things that you can do if you have a lot of debt. Some of them can be as extreme as declaring bankruptcy, others could be as simple as consolidating some of your debts. And so if you have a lot of debt out there, I want you to consider doing some sort of debt restructuring, but just make sure you talk to an expert that's not just trying to sell you something, but an expert that can consult you about the risks and the pros of doing some sort of restructuring. Because if you do it the right way, you could get the option to pay down some of this debt aggressively without paying much interest, or you could potentially even lower some of your debt. Or if you have a lot of debt and you're facing a lot of financial issues, well, then you could even potentially consider a bankruptcy, where now you can relieve some of those debts. But again, that is not for everybody. So you want to make sure you're talking to an expert. That way you know what your options are and you know what the risks and the possibilities are with your restructuring. And number 7, you want to make sure you're also putting your money to work. Now, if you are working to build up your emergency fund, your first couple $1,000s to save, you don't want to invest this money because you want to make sure this money is safe. But at the very least, you can at least open up a high interest savings account, which is something like an online bank. It's still a bank, it's still FDIC insured, it's still going to be no fees. There's a number of them out there. Make sure you're using a reputable bank. And now you can earn a lot more interest on your savings than you would at a normal bank. Now, what does it take to open up an online bank? Well, not much. It's just like opening a regular bank, except it's on the internet. You can keep your physical bank, leave a little bit of money in your physical bank, but transfer some of it to an online bank. That way now, at least your savings are earning you some interest. Some online banks will pay you 2%, some will pay you 2.5%, some might even pay you close to 3% in interest a year. Now, of course, 2 to 3% interest is not a ton. It's not going to make you rich, but it's still better than the 0.1% that you're getting at your physical bank right now. Once you build a little bit of a savings cushion and you have cash to fall back on in case an emergency happens, well, that's when you also want to put your money to work outside of your savings, but also be investing your money. Again, these are the assets that I was talking about earlier. Things like stocks, things like real estate, things like investing in businesses. And yes, you can start investing your money into all 3 of these things with as little as $100. Thanks to the internet, there's a lot of different funds and things out there. But now it just requires you to, one, start learning. I have a ton of videos on my channel that go over financial education and how to invest, but then also taking action, investing your money. Sometimes you will lose money. I'm sorry, but that's a part of the process, and that's how you learn. Failure is the best teacher, and if you're not willing to go through that pain, you're never going to be able to see the upside. So you have to understand that the downside is your tuition. It's a part of the process to actually get the bigger returns. And third, you have to be willing to invest in your own education. Be willing to hire the right coaches, be willing to invest in classes, being willing to invest in books, being willing to invest into the things that can actually teach you and grow you, because now you are trying to be better with your money. And unfortunately, most of us never learned this stuff in school, and a lot of us have spent a ton of money in school. So you got to understand, if you really want to advance on your financial education, sometimes you're going to have to invest not just your time, but also your money to get the right education when it comes to your financial education. One good thing that came out of the 2020 pandemic was the realization that you can earn money from the comfort of your home. Even if your job doesn't give you the flexibility to be able to work from home, there are other ways that you can earn money from the comfort of your home, even if you don't have a lot of money. So what I want to do today is go over 9.5 different ways that you can earn money from the comfort of your home or from wherever you are without spending another penny. Number 1 is by becoming a digital freelancer. Now, just so we're on the same page, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different companies and resources in this video. This video is not sponsored. None of these companies pay me. The companies that I talk about are real resources that you can use, and I'm not being influenced or paid by any of the companies that I talk about. So a couple freelancing sites on the internet are Fiverr.com, Freelancer.com, and Upwork.com. And these are places where now you can offer some sort of service. Maybe you can be a writer or a graphic designer, or you can offer some sort of financial services. Or if you really don't have that many, you don't think technical skills, you can become a virtual assistant. So no matter what level of expertise or skill you have, anybody can provide some sort of skill or value, and the person that you're providing this value to are typically small business owners. So I, for Minority Mindset and our companies, have used Upwork quite a bit. That is my personal favorite from the business side. And I actually just checked right before I recorded this how much money we've spent on Upwork over the past few years. And we have spent about $250,000 on Upwork paying freelancers over the last few years. And the things that we pay our freelancers for are pretty much anything you can imagine. Anything from video editing to being an actual writer for us, to being a graphic designer for us, to being an actual virtual assistant for me. So I had a couple virtual assistants that have worked with me on Upwork, and these are people that will manage my email, that might manage my social media, that might manage other things for me to make my life easier. And so depending on what your interests are and what your skill level is, you can offer your services to businesses, to regular people who just want some of their time back in exchange for a fee. The one caveat that I do want to mention regarding freelancing and pretty much everything else is that it does take time and effort to start getting your name and reputation out there, because you need to start building reviews. And as you are just starting off, you're not going to have any reviews, you're not going to have any experience, so it's going to be harder for you to land your first client. But after you can start landing your first client, after you can get a few 5-star reviews, it's going to be significantly easier for you to get more clients, and now you can become pickier and choosier of who you want to work with, and then you can also bump up your rates. But in the beginning, you just got to get your first couple clients, you got to get a few 5-star reviews, you got to demonstrate your value, and once you can do that, then you can start charging more money and you can start picking the better clients and picking the more type of work that you want to do. The second thing that you can do is try to find a company that allows you to work from home. So like here at the Minority Mindset companies, if you work for Minority Mindset or Market Briefs, which is my financial newsletter, you have this flexible option to work from home pretty much whenever you want. What we do is we have a 1-day-a-week team day where people come into the office, but generally you have the ability to work from home pretty much whenever you want. And so we have some team members that travel, some team members that live out of an RV, some team members that are currently touring the country. However, you have the flexibility to be able to work from home because we are a digital-based company. Now, if your company does not allow that, they don't allow you to work from home, because most companies, even the fully remote ones, do have some sort of hybrid capacity where you have to go in once in a while, but there are some companies that are fully remote. So if you want to completely work from home, or if you want to be able to travel, you want to be able to work from somewhere else, you can do that, but you have to be able to find a company that allows you to do that. There's a couple sites on the internet. Now, I haven't used these myself, so I haven't verified them, but from the blogs and the reviews that I saw, they seemed like good, legitimate companies. One of them is flexjobs.com, and the second is remote.co. Both of these two are job sites which are tailored to helping you find a work from home job, jobs that allow you to work from the comfort of wherever you want. So they're remote jobs. If your concern now is you don't have the skills or the knowledge or the ability to work from home because of whatever your degree is, then what you can consider doing is getting some sort of certificate. Maybe it's a data science certificate. Maybe you learn some sort of coding language. It's a few $1,000s typically. You can get a certificate online on your own schedule. But once you have the certificate, then you'll be qualified to be able to work many different types of work from home jobs, because if you can do the job on the internet, there are some companies that will allow you to work fully remotely. So you need to know what type of job that you can do, what type of thing that you qualify for, and if you can qualify for that, then you just need to find a company that's hiring for that position. Third, if you don't mind being on the phone and you don't mind being on commission, you can also consider being an online salesperson. Now, there's a lot of value here on the education side, because if you know how to sell, that can translate to whatever industry that you go to, because you know how to talk to people, you know how to get people to listen to you, and you know how to sell your product. So when I talk about online sales, this is typically going to be something like financial services. Maybe you're selling mortgages, maybe you're selling insurance, and there's so much that you can learn here in terms of how to sell and how to work and how to do the follow-up and how to cold call people. The nice thing about being a salesperson, especially in these financial services spaces, is that you have the ability to make an unlimited amount of money. Like, you can make a ton of money. When I say ton of money, I'm talking about 6 figures, maybe even potentially 7 figures a year, depending on how good you are, depending on how well you have worked your way up at the company. Because if you're working for a big financial services company, a big brokerage that's selling insurance, big brokerage that's selling mortgages, if you're working for a big company and you can really prove yourself, well, then you can work your way up, and you really have no income limit, just depending on how many hours you're willing to work. So if you're willing to put in the work, if you like learning how to sell, you can make a ton of money and learn a lot by being an online salesperson. And if you don't want to go down the financial services route, there's also a lot of digital companies that are selling things called high ticket offers. These are products that are $1,000 or more. Some of them might be educational products, some of them might be software, some of them might be other things, white labeling things that you can sell on the internet, where now you're on the phone with other business owners or potentially consumers trying to sell your product to the leads that come into these companies. And the way that you find that is really just through networking. Look at other entrepreneurs on the internet. You'll see this quite a bit where entrepreneurs, the social media entrepreneurs, they'll post on their story where they're looking for a high ticket salesperson, and this is where now you can present yourself. Now, if you have no experience with sales, it's going to be harder to sell yourself here, but one of the things that you can do is really just offer whatever services you have at a discounted price, because you need to learn how to do it first. Once you know how to sell, well, then your income potential really just shoots up, because now you can show the value that you have. Because if you can help a business sell their product, they'll be willing to pay you more money. The fourth way that you can make money from home, even if you don't have a lot of money, is by creating your own blog. And the next 6 that I talk about are going to be things where now you're creating something yourself. So you're starting your own side hustle, but they're all things that I have done myself. So I'm going to talk about these from my own personal experience. Now, if you do want to start your own blog, it's going to take you a little bit more than $0. You don't need a ton of money, but a few $100s to go out and start your own blog. And all you have to do is you got to buy your own domain, and then you got to register with one of the blog services out there. So something like maybe Weebly or WordPress or Wix. I mean, there's a ton of different sites out there. You can find whatever you like the best. But the whole idea here is you're going to be writing articles that people want to read. And these might be things that people are searching on Google. And so if you can write an article that answers a question that somebody is searching on Google, for example, if you write an article on how to make money from home, and people on Google are searching how to make money from home, if your article can show up on the first page of Google and people click on your article, well, now they'll read your article, and then you have many different ways that you can make money. One way that you can make money through your blog is through something called affiliate blogging. This is what we do on the Minority Mindset website. We have a blog on the minoritymindset.com where we talk about a whole bunch of different financial things, what's happening in the stock market, real estate, crypto, and wealth. And one of the ways that we make money is through affiliate blogging, meaning we mention some of our partners or affiliates or sponsors within our blog. Now, we disclose everything. We make it very apparent, and we don't change our decisions based off of who's paying us or who's not paying us. We give our opinion, and if one of the companies that we talk about is an affiliate of ours, we will link them. So if you read an article on how to invest your money in the stock market, we will recommend some stockbrokers. And if you click on one of the ones that pay us money, one of our affiliates, and you open up an account, then we will get paid. Now, not every company that we mentioned is an affiliate of ours, because we want to make sure we provide the most value possible to our readers. But one of the things that you can do now is make these types of affiliate arrangements with companies that you like. And if you're already using a company, if you find ways to make money from home and you like some of the companies that you use, well, then you can link those companies in your blog, and some of those companies will pay you an affiliate commission. Now, not every company needs to be an affiliate partner. I mean, you want to make sure you provide the most value to your readers, because Google can track this. Google is very smart, and they know when you are providing value to your readers and when you're not. And if you can provide more value to your readers, you're more likely to show up on the first page of Google. And then if you're on the first page of Google, you will have more people clicking on your site. And if more people are clicking on your site, you have more options and more opportunities to make more money. So you write articles about things that you want to talk about, and if it shows up on the first page of Google, one of the things that you can do is mention companies that are your partners, your affiliates, that pay you commission for recommending them. The fifth thing that you can do is create an e-commerce store. This is creating a store on the internet, and this doesn't have to cost you a lot of money either. I mean, you can do this again with just a few $100s. You have to create a site, and you don't have to create or build all the products, because you can do something called drop shipping. Drop shipping is where your store syncs with the manufacturer. So anytime somebody buys a product on your website, that order will go automatically to your manufacturer, and then your manufacturer will then ship the product out to the customer, and then the manufacturer will then bill you for the product after it gets sold. So you never have to buy any inventory up front. You only buy the inventory after somebody buys it off of your website. Now, to give an example of this, on Market Briefs, which is my financial newsletter company, if you haven't heard of Market Briefs, it is my company where every day we're sending out a daily newsletter, what's happening in the top finance and business news. So that's my company. One of the things that we have in Market Briefs is a store. You can look at it at store.marketbriefs.com. And in the store, we sell different types of apparel for Market Briefs, some of which are actual briefs for our Market Brief readers. Now, with these briefs, one of the things that we do is we give them away to our readers if you refer readers to our newsletter. But you can also purchase these briefs. Now, as of today, we don't own a stockpile of underwear Market Briefs. we are doing this type of drop shipping that I talked about. So if you go to our store and purchase a pair of briefs, well, then the order is going to go directly to our manufacturer, and then our manufacturer is going to create the briefs and then send it out to you. Now, the advantage with this type of e-commerce or drop shipping is it's extremely low cost to start, because I don't got to go out and buy a whole bunch of inventory. I don't got to buy a whole bunch of things. I just work with the manufacturer, and you can put up as many products that you want on your site. And then when people buy it, that's when you purchase the product after somebody buys it off of your site. The disadvantage of it is, well, your margins are very low. Like our margins on our site are extremely low. For us, the benefit of the e-commerce store isn't to generate revenue. It's for more brand awareness and to give away products in our Market Briefs newsletter. Like we do fun giveaways where if you refer certain people, then we will give you other products. So it's a way for us to do more marketing. But I know many people that have built full businesses around their own e-commerce store. Drop shipping is an easy way for you to start. Your margins are low, but it's an easy way for you to start. And then once you start generating revenue, if you like it, that's when you can advance and upgrade yourself to buying your own inventory. You're making an investment in your products because you already know how many people are buying your products. And when you do that, now you can see your margins significantly increase, so you can make bigger profit margins and you don't have to invest a ton of money to start, because now you're starting with drop shipping. Now at this point, you might be wondering, how do you actually get customers to your store? Well, this brings me to number 6, is to build a social media brand, something on TikTok or Instagram or another social media account where now you can build a larger presence. Because if you can do that, and this doesn't have to be around your life, this could be a general motivational brand or a financial brand or a health brand or whatever type of brand that you want. If you can build a social media page where you're publishing content that people want to see and your posts start to go viral, well, then one of the things that you can do is you can direct your traffic from your social media back to your e-commerce store. So the whole idea here is now you're going to build a brand, you're going to build a presence on the internet that doesn't have to be around your face or your lifestyle, but a certain product or a certain niche that you believe in, that you can educate people on. And then as you start to build this traffic, you can send people to your store. Or if you don't want to create your own store, you can go back to the affiliate method that I talked about with blogging, where now you can build partnerships with different companies. Well, one common one is in the fitness space. If you like fitness, if you like talking about losing weight or building muscle, you can build a page, a social media page around fitness, and then you can try to build a relationship with a supplement company. Maybe you like some supplements, some protein supplements or whatever supplements that you use. Well, then you can recommend these supplements to your social media audience, and anytime somebody purchases the supplements using your link, you get paid a commission. It's called an affiliate commission. Now, you don't have to worry about building the business and building the website and finding the inventory. All you have to do is send the traffic to the company, and then you're getting your commission anytime somebody makes an order. Now, of course, the person who's getting the biggest benefit is the company who's building the business, but now you don't have to do all the work of managing the inventory and managing the returns and managing the customer service. So you don't have to do as much work, which is why you're not getting all the profits, but you do get your affiliate commission by just recommending it to your social media audience. But the tough part now is building the social media audience, and I can tell you from experience that it is possible, but it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of consistency. In the social media game, if you want to be successful, you have to publish content consistently, because the reality is there is so much content on the internet. So you need to get your content seen, and people forget about you very fast. So you want to be posting content consistently every single day, ideally multiple times a day, especially if you're talking about Instagram and TikTok and all that. So you need to be posting as many times as possible, and you want to make sure your content is different. You want to be able to stick out. Look at anybody who has gone viral. They say something that really resonates with you. If you're just copying and pasting what everybody else says, you're just vanilla. Nobody even notices you because there's nothing interesting about you. You need to be able to pull on people's heartstrings. So you need to be able to get people to actually listen to you. So you have to have an opinion about whatever it is that you talk about, and you need people to listen to you and share your content, which will make you go viral. Now, if you can do that, that will build you your social media presence, which then you can leverage to build any other product that I just talked about. The 7th way that you can make money from home is by building your personal brand. And now I'll give you my personal experience here, because I started Minority Mindset, this YouTube channel, with less than $100. I started by making videos off of my cell phone in front of a white wall. I don't have any fancy camera equipment, no fancy audio equipment. I don't have hundreds of dollars of lights. I mean, all I had was really a tripod with a camera of my phone hookup, and that was it. I mean, it was like $30, maybe $40 or $50 worth of equipment, and I just made videos for fun. It was a hobby for me. Now, I never wanted to be the face of Minority Mindset, because this was just something that I was doing as a hobby. Then Minority Mindset started to grow, and I was like, holy moly, people are starting to realize who I am. And I never wanted to be famous. I never wanted to be a celebrity. I just wanted to put out content and help educate the things that I wish that I knew when I was getting started in finance, because the whole reason I started this brand was because I was an entrepreneur against everyone's will. Nobody wanted me to be an entrepreneur. Nobody wanted me to be an investor. In my house, I was told to be a doctor, go to school, get good grades, and follow the traditional path. Now, I love my parents. They just didn't have that sort of financial education. And so for me, I wanted to do something different. Never really had any mentorship, never really had any guidance, which was why I created Minority Mindset to provide that. But I just never really liked the idea of being a celebrity or a social media celebrity or an influencer or any of that. I never really wanted to do that. So I tried multiple times through the Minority Mindset brand to bring on other people, to bring on other hosts onto the Minority Mindset channel. And I never really kept my face as the logo. I mean, it was the Minority Mindset logo for the longest time until after we had 1 million subscribers. But at around 1.1 million subscribers or so, that was when I had to make the tough realization, where I was holding back Minority Mindset and our education because I was trying to make Minority Mindset a company as opposed to just it being my personal brand, because everybody associated Minority Mindset as me, but I was trying to keep Minority Mindset distant from me. And around the end of 2021 or the beginning part of 2022, I was hovering around 1.1 million subscribers on YouTube. And that was when I made the decision that Minority Mindset needs to be me, and I need to separate my companies from Minority Mindset. And so Minority Mindset became a personal brand. Now again, I started the Minority Mindset with less than $100. And now it has grown into a full YouTube channel, and I have built other companies through this brand that I have built. Like I talked about Market Briefs, which is my financial newsletter company. I've also built Market Insiders, which is an investing education app. And the whole idea here is I have people that watch my videos, and then I can help the people that watch my videos by giving them some sort of product. Maybe it's an affiliate, maybe it's a sponsor, or my own companies like Market Briefs is that free financial newsletter that I talked about. I never grew up being able to understand what's happening in the financial news. And when the whole pandemic hit, that's when I asked my team to start breaking down what's happening in the financial news for an easy summary for me, because I was trying to make videos. During the pandemic was when I first started making videos 5 times a week. Because before that, it was 3 times a week because I was busy with a whole bunch of other things. And when the pandemic hit, it was like craziness in the financial markets. So I wanted to make more videos to help people stay up to date. And I asked my team to help me out by giving me a daily summary of what's happening in the markets. And this daily summary, then I asked our audience here on YouTube, I said, if you want a daily summary, you can just join this Minority Mindset newsletter that I created. Just so now the email, this newsletter that the team was making for me, now our readers could access it too. And slowly this just kind of went on, and eventually people really started to like it, and I was like, wow, we can turn this newsletter into its own thing. So I separated Minority Mindset from Market Briefs, and Market Briefs became its own company. Now today, Market Briefs is one of the fastest growing financial newsletters on the internet. We offer a great product, but it all started because I had this personal brand. Now, the reason and way that I've been able to build this personal brand, I believe, is because I try to be as authentic and genuine as possible. I mean, I am me in these videos, right? Like, I really don't care if people don't like the way I talk, if people don't like that I say guacamole, if people don't like the way I say blow. I mean, that's okay. If you don't like what I say, you don't like what I do, that's fine. There's a bunch of other financial YouTubers you can watch. You can always click the X. That's the freedom of YouTube, where you're decentralizing education. But for me, I like this because I can talk about the things that I wish I knew, and I come from a very genuine place where these are the things that I wish I knew. Everything I talk about is from my own experiences. And so this has allowed me to build my own personal brand. So Minority Mindset makes revenue, and then I reinvest this revenue back into my own companies. Now, most creators don't do that. Most creators build a personal brand, and that's it. They live off of the revenue that their personal brand brings them. That's just not what I do, because I'm more of an entrepreneur. This is my hobby. Minority Mindset is literally my hobby, and I use the money that I make from Minority Mindset to help fund my businesses, and that's what I do. Now, if you want to build your personal brand, if that's something that you're interested in, you can use YouTube, you can use podcasts. There's so many different tools out there, but the whole idea and the way that you can become successful with this is by providing value. The more value that you provide, the more that people are going to want to listen to or view your content. And so, you can try to hack the algorithm and do all these things, but at the very core, you cannot get away from the core reason why people watch or pay attention to or listen to a certain person or influencer or whatever on the internet, and that's because of some sort of value that they provide. So you can try all the algorithms to hack the system, to hack the algorithm, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to provide value, and the more value that you provide, the better results that you're going to get. Number 8, you can get into the service business on the internet. Now, interestingly, a long time ago, many years ago, I actually did this for a little period of time, and it made me some decent money. And the whole idea here in the service business is you can sell your services, and now if you're selling your services, your fees are significantly less because you don't have a cost to produce something because you're selling your own services. Now, the question is, how do you do that on the internet? What I did was, a long time ago, I had built some social media pages on how to help people build a website or something along those lines. And I was actually working through Upwork, I believe. Maybe it was a different freelancing site, but it was one of those freelancing sites, and I had hired a web developer overseas on this freelancing platform. And when I got a client or a lead from my social media platform of somebody that wanted me to build a website for them, I would construct it, and I would come up with an idea, I'd come up with a proposal with the help of my freelancer, and then I would charge the person who wanted the website like 50% more. So if it would cost me $200 to build a website, I might sell it for $300 or $350 to the end user. Now, this doesn't mean you got to do the exact same thing, but you can find different ways to sell services. If you know how to build a website, if you know how to code, if you know how to do graphic design, if you know how to do video editing, these are services now that you can directly offer to people that are doing it, that are doing these things, that are paying money for these things. And the question is now, how do you get into the business of somebody who's already having a video editor, who already has some of these services already contracted out? Well, this is where you have to present your value. And the easiest thing to do to get your foot in the door is by offering your services for free. Now, for free, you might hear that and say, how am I going to make any money? Well, it doesn't have to be free forever, but you want to make it enticing. That way you can get the conversation started. If you know how to build a website, or if you know how to do video editing, find somebody, a business owner or an influencer or somebody in this niche who's using your types of services right now. Then offer to do it for free for a certain period of time. That way you can just show your services. And if you can demonstrate how good you are, how valuable you are, how great responding you are, and they can start to like you and they want to work with you, well, then after the 2 weeks or whatever of you offering your services for free, that's when you can say, I would love to continue working with you. I really enjoyed this. These are my prices. Would you like to continue working together? Now you got your foot in the door. It's much easier to do that than say, hey, I want to do videos for you, or I want to do your website. It's going to cost $2 grand. Most people are going to hear that and say, well, I know nothing about you, especially if you don't have a portfolio, you don't have a name to back you, you don't have the experience, you don't have the referrals. It's going to be very hard for you to build that unless you do it. And the way that you can get it now is by offering your services for free to begin with. Number 9, you can finally start your own business. So if you have a business idea, you want to create something, you want to do something, well, then this is your time, because the internet has made things so much more accessible. And the nice thing is, even if you don't have a lot of money to create your product, you don't need that anymore, because you can use something like Kickstarter to launch your product. Get pre-orders before you even have a product, and then you take the revenue that you got from your Kickstarter campaign to go out and actually build your product. So thanks to the internet, you don't need a ton of money to start a company anymore, because there are so many alternative ways for you to either generate revenue now through a Kickstarter campaign, or if you wanted to raise money for your company, you want to get investment dollars, you can do some sort of investment crowdfunding, something like Republic or Start Engine or WeFunder. These are investment crowdfunding places. Now, I am an investor in WeFunder, I have to disclose that, but these are places where now you can sell equity in your companies to raise money to continue growing your company. So now, if you have a business idea, you can start doing it on the internet. You don't need a ton of money to start. And then if you need money to continue growing it, you can use something like Kickstarter. Then you can use one of the investment crowdfunding platforms to raise equity to help you grow even further. And this brings me to number 9.5, which is more of the miscellaneous. These are not things that I have done to make money. However, I know people personally who have made money doing these things. So let's just jump right into it. Number 1 is now selling some sort of baked goods from your home. One of my friends, his mom makes this amazing carrot cake. So what did he do? He told his mom to make a couple carrot cakes. He took a bunch of pictures and videos of it. He started putting it on social media. He told all of his friends about it. And then he started selling this carrot cake for like $30 to $50, depending on how big you wanted it. And now they have not a ton of money coming in from this carrot cake, but they have a few orders coming in every week for their carrot cake. You can do pet sitting. If you're working from home and you're already home and you know some friends that have dogs or they have pets that are sitting at home all day, well now you can offer your home to your friend's dog. That way you can sit and take care of the dog while they're gone at work or while they're on vacation. Now you're getting paid to take care of the dogs, and hopefully you like dogs because now it's more fun for you to take care of their dog. And third, if you're artistic, you can create and sell your own crafts. Etsy has made this so much more accessible where now you can build whatever types of arts and crafts that you want, and I bet you that there is a market for it, and Etsy lets you now market your products to people. And I bought a bunch of random things off of Etsy, things for our office, things for my home. So if you like arts and crafts, you like creating things, well, you can make some money off of that too. Unlike what the majority of people say, it is possible to get out of your financial situation. It is possible to get out of poverty even if you've never seen anything else, but it requires the right financial education, and you have to go through the right steps to get into a better financial situation. You don't know what you don't know, and if you grew up seeing your parents struggle with money, if you grew up seeing your parents go paycheck to paycheck, if you grew up never learning about money or investing or how to become wealthy, chances are you never learned to think about it because no one taught you how to be good with your money. And if now you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out, how can I become wealthy? How can I achieve some sort of financial success? How can I get out of the financial situation that I'm in right now? It is possible. Even if you've never seen it before, even if you think that somebody like you, somebody who looks like you, somebody from your situation, somebody with your parents, somebody with your background can never do it, the reality is it is possible after you believe it's possible. Now, if you're watching this video, chances are you believe that something is possible for you, otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. But then the next step is, what do you do? And I broke it down into 5 steps of the things that you need to do right now to get out of your financial situation. That way you can build real wealth for yourself, because it is possible, and by the end of this video you'll know the steps that you need to do in order to do that. The first thing that you got to do is MM, and no, I'm not talking about the minority mindset, although you do have to have the right mindset before you can do anything. But this MM I'm referring to is monitoring your money, because what happens to the majority of people is you make money, so you have an income, then you pay your taxes, you spend, and then you wonder where all your money went. This is what the financial statement looks like for the vast majority of people, but you have to break this if you want any chance at becoming wealthy. So the first thing that I want you to do is pull out a piece of paper, use an Excel sheet, use Google Sheets, doesn't matter what you use, but you need to understand where your money is going. So at the very top, write down how much money you're making every month. Just look at your last month's statement, write down how much money you made, and then I want you to write where every penny went. So write all of your expenses. How much is your rent? How much was your mortgage? How much were your property taxes? How much was your car payment if you had one? How much did you spend on gas? How much did you spend on groceries? How much did you spend on flights? How much money did you give away? How much did you buy on other random stuff, restaurants? You write all this down, and then you should see where all your money went. Write down how much money you invested, if any. Write down how much money you put towards savings, if any. And then you'll see where all your money went. And now we can work towards actually changing the way that your money works. Because the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to realize, oh my God, I spent so much money on subscriptions that I don't even use. I spent so much money on this thing that I don't even use. Now you can immediately cut those things out, because if you're spending money on something that you're not using, get rid of it. Because right now in this first stage, you have to create margin. Meaning you need a difference. You need a spread between how much money you're making and how much money you're spending. If you are spending every dollar that you bring in, it is going to be impossible for you to build any sort of wealth, because anytime you make money, you're spending this money, meaning you're working to make everybody else around you rich. Anytime you get paid, you're making your landlord richer, you're making the banker richer, you're making a car company richer, you're making Gucci richer, you're making Lululemon richer, you're making these other companies richer. However, you have no money left to make yourself richer, which means the very first thing that you got to do is cut out the unnecessary expenses. Second, once you cut out the unnecessary expenses, that's when you start downsizing on the necessary expenses. Yes, you need a car, but do you really need that BMW that you have right now? You can start downsizing on the expenses that you have right now, and there's a 2-part plan to do that. First is selling the things that you don't need. If you have a fancy car, if you have a big home, if you have things that you don't need or can't afford right now, start selling them, because you need this cash in order to be able to actually build this wealth. So just look around you. Look around you in your apartment, in your home, see what things are just collecting dust that you're not using, that are just sitting there taking up space. Put it on Facebook Marketplace, put it on Craigslist, put it on eBay, put it on Amazon, sell it, get the cash, turn that dust into cash, and now you no longer have this item that you don't need, but you have some cash. Now look at your car. If you are financing a car that you cannot afford, you got to get rid of it. Financing a car means that you're paying interest on something that's losing value. If you buy a car for $20,000, well, guess what? The brand new car for 20 grand is going to be worth 16 grand as soon as you drive it off the lot. And then you're going to be paying interest each and every year that the car is losing value. So if you have a car payment that you're financing, well, you might want to consider selling that car and then buying a car that you can afford with cash in good working condition that doesn't need a lot of maintenance. The reason why this is so important is because if you could take $500 a month and instead of using this money to make somebody else richer, instead of making your car company richer, you invested this money. And you invested this money, let's just say in the stock market, and you could do a general 7% average return on your money. So we're not talking about a great return, we're talking about a below average return on your money, and you do this for 45 years. I know, that's a long time, but if you do this consistently, you take this $500, you don't pay the car company, you're not paying a banker, you're putting this money to work for yourself. Well, guess what? By the time you retire, you're gonna have almost $2 million sitting there. If you spend this $500 a month on your car instead, guess what? By the time you retire, you're gonna have a piece of junk that still needs maintenance, that needs more work, and you're just gonna be flipping car after car after car, versus now, if you sacrifice the car, you drive a beat up car that drives in good working condition, well, guess what? Now you take this payment, the monthly payment that you're paying to the car company, put it to work for yourself. That way you can build real wealth for yourself. So the first thing you want to do now, you want to monitor your money, sell off things that you don't need, and then start downsizing. Hey, if you have a big apartment, you have a big home, this could be an opportunity for you to move a little bit smaller. And I know this can be hard to do when you're in this weird economic time that we're in right now. However, this is where you really want to consider what sacrifices that you're willing to make, because the sacrifice that you're willing to make today can help you live a more comfortable life tomorrow, right? The whole idea is right now you want to live uncomfortable so you can be more comfortable tomorrow. It's that sacrifice for that delayed gratification for a bigger and freer lifestyle in the future. The kind of funny and ironic thing is the people that are going out of their way to buy nice things like name brand cars, name brand clothes, the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton. These aren't the wealthy millionaires and billionaires that are going out of their way to buy these name brand things. It's the people that want to look rich. It's the people that don't have any money, that are not going out of their way, that are struggling, that are going thin, that are going into debt, that are financing the name brand cars, the name brand clothes. That way they can look rich, but these things that make you look rich are the things that are actually keeping you broke. When you're successful, you don't really care about the name brand because you know you're successful. You already have the confidence. You already know you made it. You don't have to go out and buy a name brand thing just to show off that you made it. If you want something nice and name brand, you can buy it, but you're buying it because you like it, not because you want to show off. Because when you're a millionaire, when you become successful, when you become wealthy, you want to live quieter. You don't want to attract that attention. The people that are doing it are the people that want to act and look like they made it. After you do MM, it's time for II, which in this case is increasing your income. And this is more important to do this after you cut your expenses, because what happens to the majority of people is if you ask the majority of people right now, what is causing you your financial problems? Every single person will say it's the amount of money that I'm making. I'm not making enough money. If I just made more money, then all my financial problems would get better. But if that was really the case, why is it that so many lottery winners end up broke or bankrupt within just the first 5 years of winning the lottery? Why do so many high-income NFL players end up broke or bankrupt after just 5 years? Why do so many NBA players end up broke or bankrupt after just a few years? Why do so many trust fund kids lose all their money after getting this big sum of cash? It's because if you make more money without knowing how to use that money, the majority of people will end up losing that money. This is why you have to understand how to use your money before earning more money has more value. So we talked about how to use your money in the first thing. Now we're talking about how to earn more money, because now if you earn more money, you're going to understand what you want to do with that money. And the whole goal here, going back to what I said earlier, is building that margin. You want to have that margin between how much money you make and how much money you spend. That way you have the extra cash to put to work to make you wealthy, because wealthy people become wealthy and stay wealthy not by spending all their money, not by saving all their money, but by investing their money. They buy assets, they buy investments, they buy businesses, they buy stocks, they buy real estate, they buy cryptocurrency, they buy gold, they buy assets and investments which help them keep their wealth and help them grow their wealth because they invest in these things for the long term. Now, while that part is pretty simple to understand, the second thing you got to understand is, how do you actually buy it? Well, you can't buy it unless you have cash that requires you to have this margin between how much money you make and how much money you spend. Well, if you're now cutting down your expenses, the next thing you can do is increase your income. Because so many people, they get this wrong. They say, all right, your income is this pie right here. And right now, here's what your financial statement looks like. You're earning this money. You're making, let's just say $40,000 a year. I'm going to get my other marker. You're earning $40,000 a year. And right now, you're putting aside 25%, meaning you're putting aside $10,000 into your savings and your investments, which is great. And once you start doing that, you're going to realize, holy moly, I love this whole idea of investing. I love this idea of financial freedom. I love this idea of financial education. And now you're like, I want to do even more. I want to get more aggressive. I want to put more money aside. So what do? Well, now you're going to work to put even more money aside to your savings and investments. You're pinching more pennies. You're trying to squeeze more dollars out of this pie that we have more money to put to work. And this can be great if you know what to do with this money. However, I want you to think a little bit bigger. This is now building that growth mindset. This is what wealthy people have, where you don't see the world with this limited pie. Instead, what you're saying is, okay, yeah, I'm putting aside 25%. And maybe I can put aside a little bit more if that aligns with your lifestyle. But also what I'm thinking is, how do I grow the pie from $40,000 a year to $400,000 a year? Because now, if you can grow the pie to $400,000 a year and you do the same thing, you're putting aside 25%, well, guess what? You're not putting aside $10,000 anymore. You're putting aside $100,000 a year. That's a whole lot more than $10,000, but it's the same percentage, the same proportion based off of your income. Now, I already know those of you watching this are saying, but Jaspreet, how in the world am I going to go from $40,000 a year to $400,000 a year? That's a pretty big jump. And you're right. But this requires back to what I said in the beginning. You first have to have the right mindset. You have to believe it's possible, because if you believe it's possible, your mind is then going to dictate your actions. Because if you believe that you can make $400,000 a year, then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to start watching YouTube videos. How do I increase my income? What can I do to start a side hustle? How can I start a business? And then you're going to start reading books. And then you're going to start trying different things. And then you might actually fail and try again. Maybe buy some classes. Maybe invest in more of your education. That way now you can start earning more money, because until you believe it, you're not going to do anything, because your mind dictates your actions. And so now first thing that you got to do is understand, hey, if I can increase the size of the pie, I don't even have to change the percentage of the money that I'm putting aside. I can just grow the pie, build that growth mindset, and now my percentage that I'm putting aside becomes so much more valuable, because there's a lot more dollars that I can put to work for me. Because now you have $100,000 that you're putting to work to invest to your savings to help build you wealth. Now the question you're asking is, how do I make this additional income right now? And this is now going to depend on you. If you don't like the idea of starting a side hustle, if you don't like the idea of starting a business, you hate that idea, then work at your job. How can you get a promotion? How can you get a raise? How can you work your way up at your company? There's nothing wrong with working a job. The majority of people should not be in the business of trying to start a company or operate a company. Now, if you like your job and you want to see how you can work up it, that's fine. But if you don't like your position, if you're not happy with the income that you're getting, if you don't see any growth potential, then maybe you look for a certificate on how you can get a different position. Or maybe you look for a different company. Or maybe you look for some other sort of career that can help you actually earn more money. Again, you might feel scared. It might feel weird because, well, I'm already secure and safe here. But when you're secure and you're safe, you have no growth. That's why when you invest your money, you see no return unless you take risk. And generally, the more risk can also bring on the bigger returns. And so same thing here with your income. If you're comfortable, if you're safe, if you're calm, nothing's wrong, well, yeah, you got a comfortable salary. But if you really want to get something bigger, you got to be willing to take on more risk. If, on the other hand, you have a business idea, or you like the idea of being an entrepreneur, or you want to create something on your own, or you want to be your own boss, then you can consider starting your own side hustle. You can consider starting your own business, and you can do this while you're working a job full time. And I know this is more work. It's harder because you're going to work all day. You got to manage the family. You got to take care of your spouse. You got to do all these other things. But this is where now you got to figure out what's most important to you, because when somebody really wants something, you'll always find a way. When somebody wants something, they will find a way. And this is where now you got to figure out what's most important to you, because now if you want to start a side hustle, hey, it's so much easier now thanks to the internet. You can watch YouTube videos, you can read books, you can take classes. There are so many things that you can do to learn and to get started. And it doesn't take a whole lot of cash either. This is where a lot of people make a mistake, and please don't be one of those people that makes this mistake, that where you assume that if you want to start a business, you want to start a side hustle, you need thousands and thousands of dollars, or you need tens of thousands of dollars. You really don't need that anymore. You can start a lot of different business ideas for less than $1,000, for less than $500. All you need is the right mindset and the hustle. And when you have these two things, the willingness to learn, the right mindset, and the hustle, nothing can stop you. I started all this, the Minority Mindset brand, the Minority Mindset companies, the Minority Mindset channel, with less than $500. It was less than $100. I started making videos off my phone with a tripod that I bought off of Amazon for like $35. I don't have any fancy lights. I don't have a fancy camera. I don't have any fancy audio equipment. It was a basic cell phone on a tripod with no lights in front of a white wall. That was it. Slowly we started to grow. Then I started to reinvest back into the company as we started to make more money. Then I helped build our blog. Then I helped fund our Market Briefs company. Then I helped build the Market Insiders app. We started investing in more things, but I didn't do any of that until I started making more money from this brand, because I started Minority Mindset as a hobby. I was working on other things that were actually making money, but I didn't want to throw money here because I was busy doing other things. This is where you have to be willing to understand that it is possible and that you don't need all these resources and all these things to get started. Just get started. Once you start to grow, once you start making some money, that's when you can start reinvesting back into yourself, back into your company, back into your side hustle, and then you can just grow sustainably that way. Third, you got to get to work. And I'm not just talking about you physically here. Of course, you got to work hard. You got to be willing to work hard to continue to save on your expenses. You got to continue to work hard to increase your income. You got to continue to work hard to do all these things. But I'm also talking about here putting your money to work. Because now as you create this margin that I've been talking about this whole video, where now you're earning more money that you're spending, you want to do something with this extra cash. You want to put some cash aside for your savings. You want to have somewhere between 3 to 6 months to 12 months worth of expenses put aside in a savings account that you don't touch unless you run into an emergency. And by emergency, I mean your kid breaks their arm, your car breaks down, your AC stops working, an actual emergency, not that Best Buy is having a sale, but a real emergency. So you put this cash aside, and the amount of cash you put aside is going to depend on your risk tolerance. If you don't really have any financial responsibilities, if you don't mind taking on more risks, then maybe you only have a few months of cash put aside in your emergency account. But if you have more financial responsibilities, you don't like taking on a lot of risk, then you should put aside more cash for your emergencies. Once you start doing that, then you also want to think about now, how do you actually put your money to work to make you more money? This is what I've been hinting at this whole video. This is what wealthy people do. They use their cash, their extra money, to buy investments, to buy assets that make them money. Now, there's two different ways that you can go about doing this. One way is to pay down some of your debt. The other way is to actually go out and buy assets. If you have anything that's a high interest debt, something like credit card debt, something like a payday loan, something like a hard money lender, something like a buy now, pay later thing that you purchased but didn't pay off in time, so now you're paying 18 to 25% APR on this loan. If you have any type of high interest debt, before you think about investing your money anywhere else, you got to pay this down as fast as possible, because these debts are skinning you alive financially. Here's why this is so important. If you have $6,000 right now and you put this into an investment account that's paying you, say, 20% a year, and you do this for 45 years, well, at the end of the 45 years, your $6,000 investment, assuming you've never put another penny into this investment, you just put $6,000 into here, you let it grow by 20% a year for 45 years, your $6,000 is going to grow to over $21 million. Now you might think, Jaspreet, that's great and all, but where am I supposed to get a 20% return on my money? And that's the reality. credit card company is charging you 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25% a year in interest. And so if your credit card company is earning this money from you, that means your credit card company is getting rich from you because you have this high interest rate debt. So this is where you want to be the one not making your credit card company rich, not making all these companies rich. You want to pay down this high interest debt as fast as possible. So you take the margin that I was just talking about, this extra cash, you use it to pay down this debt as fast as possible because this money is making your banker rich, is making your credit card company rich, and you want to put this money to work to make you rich, but you shouldn't do that until you pay down all these high interest debts. Now, if you have lower interest rate debts, things like a car payment, things like a mortgage, now you have a little bit more flexibility on whether you want to invest this money into something like the stock market or use this cash to pay down the debt. And the questions that you want to ask yourself are, what is your risk tolerance? What are your goals? And what type of lifestyle that you want to live? Because if you say, I want to live a big lifestyle and I don't mind taking on a lot of risk and I want to do something really big, I want to have a lot of wealth, then you want to be taking on more risk. And more risk in this instance would be taking your cash, putting it to work in something like the stock market. And it's riskier because the stock market can go down. The goal is to see your investment go up faster than how much money you're paying on your mortgage. However, there's a chance that your stock market investment can go down. But you're taking that risk because you want the upside. You're willing to take that risk for the potential to see that growth in your money in the next number of years. However, if you say, I just want to live financially free, I just want to never have to worry about money again, I want to just be able to live my life and not have to worry about my payments, then you want to consider paying down your debts as fast as possible, because now if you can pay out your home, if you can pay out your car and never have to worry about another payment again, well, now you're financially free. And you don't got to worry about that. And then you can worry about taking your extra cash and putting it to work for your investments. Now, I think every single person needs to have their own investments because you want to create an income stream. You want to have multiple streams of income. You want to have assets that pay you. But when you're initially starting to put your money to work, you want to know where the bulk of your cash should go. And this is where you have to make the decision of paying down your debt versus investing your money. And they both can have a place, but you got to understand these questions and know what type of lifestyle, what type of risk you want to take, and what type of goals you have financially, because that's going to help dictate where you put your money, whether it's investing your money or paying down your debt. If you're wondering where you can learn how to invest your money into assets, which are investments, things like stocks and real estate and cryptocurrency, you can check out Market Insiders. It's an investing education app that I created where every week you get access to live coaching sessions on stock market investing, real estate investing, and cryptocurrency investing. So if you want to try out Market Insiders for free, you have access to a free 10-day trial where you can get all the previous coaching sessions and attend the live coaching sessions. That way you can try everything out and not have to pay a penny until you realize if you love it or if you don't love it. If you don't love it, then you don't have to continue. It doesn't cost you a penny. If you love it, well, then you can continue. So if you want to try out Market Insiders for free, I'll put the link to how you can do it down in the description below. Fourth, you have to constantly be willing to learn. If you remember the three things that I talked about, where nothing can stop you from becoming successful, you have to have the right mindset, you have to have the right education, and you have to have the right work ethic. Well, I already talked about the work ethic. I already talked about the mindset. This is the first thing that I talked about. But now let's talk about the actual education, because education is the backbone for your success. But the question is, where do you get that education? Because the majority of us assume that our education ends at school. I went to school, I got a degree, and I got my education. However, if you really want to become successful, your real education just begins with school. And this is where now you have to have the real self education, the life education, the financial education, which can take you to real wealth. And that means, one, you can start watching YouTube videos. I have a ton of videos on my channel, which is why if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. But then you can start learning from other places. You can start reading books. You can start reading blogs. Maybe you start purchasing classes. Maybe you hire a consultant or a coach, depending on where you are and what it is that you're working on. Now you can start actually learning more about the things that you want to do, and you have to be willing to learn. And the best education that you can get is through experience. It's called that real life education, that tuition. I had to go through so many failures in entrepreneurship in order to learn how to build a business. I went from failure to failure to failure until I could figure out how to actually build a business. Same thing with my investments. I made a video on this YouTube channel where I went through my worst real estate deal ever. I walked you through everything that happened. It was a horrible nightmare property where everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. I lost a ton of money on that deal. It's the only deal to date that I've ever lost money on, but that was my real life tuition. It sucked when it happened. I didn't enjoy it when it happened, but now looking back, I learned so many things And that one real estate deal that had taught me years of real estate investing in just one deal. And that set me up to be able to do much bigger deals, much more profitable deals later on, because I learned how to make the mistakes quickly. It's kind of funny because I think a lot of people that go through this educational process realize this. And what you see is the people that talk the loudest, that feel like they know everything, are typically the people that know the least. And as you start to learn more, that's when you realize that you really don't know anything. So the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, when in reality, you're becoming smarter, you're becoming more educated, but you just feel like you don't know anything because you've now started to invest in your own education and you realize how uneducated you actually are. This is why you need to be investing in your own education. And if you're not, start listening to audiobooks or read books. I don't like reading. English is my second language. I'm not a very good reader. I'm a very slow reader. It's hard for me to sit down and actually read. But once I discovered audiobooks, I loved it. I discovered this during the pandemic, where when gyms were closed, I started going on walks. And I started going on these really long walks where I needed something to do. I didn't really like listening to music. I wanted to do something more productive. And this is where I found out about Audible. They're not a sponsor. I just listened to Audible books and I started listening to audiobooks there. And now I'm listening to audiobooks almost every single day on morning walks. And so this is another way for you to start learning, to start listening to audiobooks or read books, because you can tap into the minds of some of the most successful people and see what they did. Because if you live in this bubble where you don't have successful people around you, you don't know investors around you, you don't know entrepreneurs, well, what you can do is start tapping into the minds of other successful people by reading their books. That's how I got started, because no one in my family is an investor. I didn't know any real estate investors. I wasn't exposed to financial education. I didn't know what the word entrepreneurship was, but I started reading books, and that started teaching me about things that I had never even heard of. I never knew what investing was. I didn't realize what passive income was until I started reading books about it. And that changed my mindset about things, which changed the way that I acted. You have to change your mindset, which changes your thoughts, which will then change your actions. And number 5, you just got to keep repeating the process, because the mistake then that a lot of people make is they assume that they can change everything in just 1 year, that you can go from zero to millionaire in 1 year because you saw this YouTube video of somebody talking about how you can follow the 6-step system to go from 0 to 7 figures a year in just 12 months. Now, the reality is get rich quick does not work for 99.9% of people. Maybe you hit the lottery, maybe you find some random way to make money very quickly, but that is the outlier, it is the exception, it is not the rule. And so what you have to understand now is if you really want to build true, sustainable wealth, it takes time. And a lot of times we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And this requires you to now really build that disciplined mindset, build that long-term mindset, because you'll surprise yourself. If you start noting and journaling how far you've come, if you look back in 3 months, you'll be surprised at how much you change your financial situation in your life. You look back in 12 months, you'll be even more surprised. And then if you look back in 5 years, it's going to be a complete night and day difference where you won't even remember how your life was before, how you lived your life where you didn't understand how to use money. And when you do that, you're going to feel so much more fulfilled because you're going to see how far you have come. But this requires you to stay disciplined and understand that we're running a marathon here. It's not just a sprint. You're doing this for the long haul. That way you can build real wealth for yourself, for your family, and for your community. But what if you're looking for some passive income, some cash flow where you can get paid without having to sell your investment? Then you can look at investing your money into dividend-paying ETFs or high dividend-paying ETFs. A couple examples of this would be VYM and SCHD. I have my own money invested into these funds as a disclaimer. But now what you're doing by investing in these ETFs,